name is Maya Martz, and today I'll be showing you how to make a simple Python trivia game. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new file. Here's where we'll type all our code, and then when we run our code, it will execute in the shell over here. Alright, to create a trivia game, we're going to need three things. A while loop that we can exit out of via the help of if statements, if-then statements that will print out questions and prompt responses, and a counter which goes up depending on the answer given. For the while structure, firstly, we will create a while true loop and go with game start equals input want to play. Okay, so this while loop runs off a boolean, so when it's true it runs, when it's false it doesn't. Then we created this variable that this boolean will function off of. Game start. The boolean will use the input function to take the user's input when we run it. Next, we're going to create an if statement. If game start is equal to yes, then print out questions start. Then elif game start is equal to no, we're going to print maybe next time, and then we're going to break. So the break command exits out of the while loop. The print command prints out the words in the quotes. Else if is an alternate if condition. It's different to if, but it functions practically the same. If this, this happens. If this, this happens. And if anything else happens, print yes or no, respond again. So here we have an input. Input saves the user response in as the variable's value. Alright. Here we are. So now we have an if statement with three separate outcomes. And when we save, one moment, how do Python trivia save? Now that we've saved, we can run this. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Run module. And now we get this. Want to play? We'll respond yes. Question start. Want to play? We'll respond yes. We'll respond eh. That's not a yes or no answer, so we'll respond again with no. And maybe next time, and then the loop breaks, so then it does not repeat. This is the basic structure for our while loop. In this if section, we will add in the questions. Alright. Now it's time to create our questions. Now that the skeleton is done, we will need trivia questions to be printed, prompt a response, say if it's correct or not, then ask another question. For now, we'll put this in the yes section, if yes, then do this, of our code. But later, we will make it into its own function that we can later call on. So first, we're going to do how do you spell answer? Answer is equal to input question 1, and then we're going to make another if statement inside of this if statement. We will later remove this because just stacking if statements inside of each other can get messy and can look confusing, but for now this is just how we're going to do this. Answer is equal to correct answer. If that is equal to that, then print correct. And in any other situation, print wrong. So, print is going to print a statement that indicates questions. Starting, answer is going to ask a question and apply the user input to the variable. If that variable is correct answer, then we print correct. If the input is anything else, we print wrong. Alright, save, and then run again, up. Okay, so here we forgot a comma, not a comma, a colon, and now when we run the module, it should work. Want to play? Yes. Question start, question 1, correct, answer, correct, want to play. So now we have a functioning bit of question code. We will go back to our code here, and as we can see, the code now asks a question and decides if it's correct or not. However, every yes response to participating is resulting in the same question being asked again, as you can see here. We need the ability to ask multiple different questions. While we're at it, we'll also clean up our code by putting the questions into a function. To turn the code into a function that we can call on later, we will remove this bit of code from the while loop and put it up at the top. It's important that the function that we're going to create exists at the top of the page, as the function needs to exist before we call it. Otherwise, the code, which runs line by line, won't have the information it needs from something further down on the page. Alright, we're also going to make a points variable. Points is equal to 0. This point score will increase as correct answers are given. Alright, def means word for starting a function, and we're going to call this function questions as it's going to have multiple questions. Questions is also going to determine how many points we have. That's one of the values it's going to be in charge of, so we're going to put points in those parentheses. Alright. So from here down, Control C, Control V, we are going to add this chunk of code to here. And when we call it later on in the code, then it will run same as it did when it was inside the while statement. One other thing we're going to add is here we're going to do return points. Alright. So return points is actually going to update the points value. This is going to come into play later. For now, it's just for functionality. Update points value. We are also going to add something that increases the points value when we do something correctly. So points, we're going to do plus equals to 10. Plus equals to means add the current value of points to 10. So if points is 0, plus equals 10 will be 0 plus 10. If points is 10, plus equals to 10 will be 20, and so on and so forth. We can also add the points variable to some of our print statements down here to inform the user of their score. Where can we do that? Here in the break loop, we will add that. Maybe next time you ended with, and then we're going to do space, plus, points, plus, and then points. Now here we see the points value. Points is actually a number, which is why we can add it. So we're going to actually have to change that to a string. Strings are words, basically, str, and now it'll print seamlessly within the sentence. Then we will also add in another place where it tells us the points. We will cut out this bit since we already have it in the function up there. Prints a statement that indicates question starting. Print you have plus string to make sure that it prints seamlessly in a sentence, plus plus points. Answer more questions to increase. All right. Now the only thing to do is add the function. So we're going to call this function inside of our while true statement. So while true, game start says, we say yes, we want to play. We're going to call it by doing questions, points. And this calls the questions function. And this prints out a statement that informs about point totals. Alright, calls the questions function. We're going to save. And we're also going to put in a note here. Points score sets it at 0 when code is initially run. Alright, run. Want to play? Yes. Question start, question 1. I'm going to put in correct answer. Correct, you have 0 points. Answer more questions to increase. Here we are. To play? Yes or no? Yes. Question start, question 1. Correct answer. Correct. Use 0 points. Play more questions to increase. And now I don't want to play. Ended with 0 points. Now there is an issue in our code where it's not properly incrementing the points as we play. So just very quickly. let me double check something. We will fix that as we add multiple question functionality. Alright, now with multiple question functionality, for this we're going to edit the if statement up here. Using the points variable, we'll make question 1 get asked if we have 0 points, so like initially, and then question 2 gets asked if there's 10, and so on. Each else if statement will be another question, as many as you like, increasing the required points as you go. So, for now, I'm going to retype all this. So if points is equal to 0, then answer equal to input question 1 and if answer is equal to correct answer, then points is plus equal to 10, print correct, and in any other situation we're going to print wrong, and I forgot quotes there. So this is essentially the same lines of code as we had before. If we have less than, if we have 0 points, question 1 gets asked, ask Q1, then stores the answer. If the answer is correct, then adds 10 points, says correct. If the answer is anything else, print wrong. And so here we can see that we also need to return the points. Now we have our first question, and it's structured in a way that we can then add more questions as else if statements. So here we're going to add our second statement. Elif points is equal to 10, then answer is equal to input question 2. If it is that, we're going to get an answer to our second question, and then if answer is equal to the correct answer, we are going to points is equal to plus equals to 10, so we're going to add another 10 points. That's another 10 points. We're going to print correct. In any other situation for this, we're going to do the following: print wrong, and then return points. Return points is outside of the else statement. Finally, we have if points are 0, if points are 10, and then we'll have another else statement, and this is if we don't have any more. So we have two questions right now. If we say have 20 points, then we wouldn't have any more questions. So we're going to do print you've answered every question and gotten the max points. Yippee! And then we're going to return the points. Updates the value. So the only situation where else would run is if we'd answered or both two questions already. So now let's see if I made any mistakes here. Yes, I did. Remember, colons. I would like to play yes. Question 1, and we're going to put down correct answer. Correct, you have 0 points. Answer more questions to increase. Why do I have 0 points still? I have 0 points still because I incorrectly called this down here. So questions points shouldn't be questions points. It should be points is equal to question points. This both calls the function and makes sure points is correct. So save that, run that. Yes, I'd like to play. We do correct answer and see it properly incremented. I would like to play again, yes, and now it initiates question 2. So we're going to get the correct answer again. I now have 20 points. I'd like to play again. Oh, I've answered every question. I want to play, so I don't want to play anymore. Maybe next time, and I ended with 20 points. Now we have the basic structure for creating the 7 questions required for this project. So, in order to add more questions, we simply need more else-if statements. So with the same structure, we're going to just copy and paste that. There's no need for any major variations yet. So else if points is equal to 20. And then we will create question 3, correct answer, properly increments points, and now, wrong area. Yes, I'd like to play, correct answer. Yes, I'd like to play, correct answer. Yes, I'd like to play, correct answer. Yes, I'd like to play. I have too many points. I don't want to play. I ended with 30 points. Now we have the basic formula to adding as many questions as we like. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to replace these with actual questions now. So these questions will be DC themed, based off of the superheroes. So let's start with our first one. Often thought to be the first sidekick, this character popularized the idea. And now we're going to put a correct answer in. Robin. Print correct, print wrong. Question 2. I'm going to copy paste in. This material is Superman's main weakness. The word has also entered our vocabulary similar to Achilles' heel. And the correct answer will be kryptonite. Correct. I will type in the rest. Originally, Joker's girlfriend. This character later dumped him and took on a less villain. How do you spell villain? villainous role. And then for the correct answer, we're going to do Harley Quinn. And now we add another, and now we're going to add another else if statement. Control C. This question will require 30 points, as that means the previous 3 questions have been answered, and we'll also need a different question, obviously. This DC character wields a bow. Very simple. Green arrow. Control C. Control V. If points is equal to 40, meaning the previous 4 questions have been answered, then we will ask this. This character is the current Robin, as well as Batman's son. And then we will do Damian Wayne, and then we will go down here and do another else if statement. If the previous 5 questions have been answered, then we will ask this force is what Green Lanterns use to power their rings. And then we will do will. And if points are 60, meaning the previous 6 questions have been answered, then we'll do our final question. While not a deadly weakness, Superman is also vulnerable. How do you spell vulnerable? Vulnerable to, and the answer is magic. Alright, now we run. Indent does not match any outer indentation in the hull. Hold on. Ah, that is my bad. Everything is indented 1 level too far. So make sure your indentations are lined up with where they are supposed to be, as indentations are how the code properly tries to organize what essentially belongs to what. Like if something belongs to a while statement, it'll be properly inside that while statement. And if something belongs to an else if statement, it will have to be in that else if statement. So yes, I would like to play. Question start. Although often thought to be the first sidekick, this character popularized the idea. So we're going to do Robin. You have 10 points. Answer more questions. I'd like to play again. Yes. This is Superman's main weakness. Kryptonite. Yes. Harley Quinn. Correct. Yes. Green Arrow. Correct. Yes. Damian Wayne. Magic. And I'd like to play again. Oh, we've answered all questions, so I don't want to play again. Alright. So, now we essentially have a functioning trivia game. 7 questions, everything adds up, but it's not the most user-friendly. There's a couple more things that we can do to make it user-friendly. One, right now, if I answer something, let's run the code one more time, I'd like to play, and I answer this with Robin. You'll see I didn't capitalize the first letter. It'll say I'm wrong. So one thing we need to do is make it compatible with different capitalizations. So for one, we're going to use something called dot lower. So in our if statement, we are going to lower this. This line of code takes this and puts the user input in all lowercase. So let's put that there. Dot lower takes the user input and converts it to lowercase. If it's converted to lowercase in the code, then if we make this all lowercase, then we won't have to worry about any kind of different uppercase lowercase combinations. So we save that, we run that. I would like to play yes, and I type Robin. It's correct because behind the scenes the value is all in lowercase. The thing is that this will always need to be in lowercase. So let's do that to each line of code here. If answer is that, then that. Both are lowercase, and so both will match. If we leave this uppercase, there's no situation in which the answer value will be the same because it just won't be uppercase in any situation. So add that again, and then we're going to convert that to lowercase. One more. Well, not one more. Again. Green arrow. Again. Damien Wayne. Again, it's already lowercase. And one last time. Magic. Save that. Yes, I'd like to play. Robin. Want to play yes. Kryptonite. Want to play yes. And let's put in an incorrect answer. Let's put in Batman. Wrong. So my points don't increase, and I'm given wrong. I would like to play again, and I have an opportunity to re-answer the question, and it will increase. There's one more thing that we can do to make this more user-friendly, and that is by sort of spacing these out. As you can see, we have to answer our question directly after the thing. There's not even a space between the two sentences. So one thing we're going to do is we're going to add line breaks within the print statements. So in order to add a line break, we are going to do /n. And then it'll put a space between then and when we answer the question. So let's do that for every one of our /n. Just make this wider. We already have / there. We'll also capitalize that. Alright, we will also add one so they can be added sort of most places in the sentence. So we'll also clean this up and make it look more nice. Put one after that. One after this. one right there. Now we have this. Want to play? Yes. Oh, and one more place that we need to add lower to, Control C, is inside of our while statement. While true, want to play, Control V, yes, else if V, no. This is going to make sure that if we have a capitalized yes, that we won't have an issue with the code. Run module, yes, and as you can see, we now have spaces. So now we are entering in our answers below the question instead of right after it with no spaces in between. So I want to play again, and kryptonite, 20 points, answer more questions to increase, to play again, yes. Oh, and we forgot to add one. Forward slash. And I believe we inputted one wrong there as well. Save. Run. And now our code should be good. I would like to play yes. Often thought to be the first sidekick, this character popularized the idea. Robin. Want to play? Yes. Kryptonite. Want to play? Yes. Original Joker's Brooklyn. Harley Quinn. To play? Yes. Green Arrow. And I don't want to play. Alright, and we see points display works just fine. The inputs are well organized with little bunches of where each question is and little bunches where we say we want to play or not. And that will be our trivia code. So, as we can see, we have this function with an if statement, with if statements regarding if the points are 0, if the points are 10, essentially indicating if we have played, how many questions we've correctly answered as of yet, adding up until we have 7 questions, and then with an else statement if we've answered every question, if more than 60 points. Just let me add in this code. And then that function is called in the while statement. Alright, and that'll be our code. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, and have a great school year.